Guys, ever since the 19 happened and people were basically stuck in their houses, malls have basically gone extinct. Have you noticed it? Like, I went to a mall, I don't know, a couple months ago or so, thinking this mall was going to be plentiful, people walking around, right? The elderly doing laps, right? Food court open, multiple stores open. That's not the case. I went to the mall where there should be hundreds of stores. There were basically 3 stores. And luckily, it was a store that I was actually looking to go to, one of the ones that were there. Right? So now imagine, if that's happening, malls are losing all their steam. It's not the 70s, 80s, and 90s anymore, guys, or even the 2000s, early 2000s. Things have changed. Time has changed. The way people buy things have changed. Amazon exists in a kind of monopoly type situation, guys, right? Online shopping, e-commerce, like people don't go into these locations anymore. But for some reason, they still go to strip malls. So does it make sense that all these gigantic big box locations are now starting to set up shop in these places? Not at all. Not at all. Right? But all right, listen, there's a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is why Macy's and other brands are moving into strip malls. All right, let's check it out. Let's jump into it.
U.S. adults make about 1.3 billion visits to shopping centers each month, or about 62 trips per person annually.
Okay.
While some outlets, like malls, have struggled to retain shoppers, foot traffic to strip malls is booming. Annual visits to strip malls surged 18% in 2023 compared with prior to the pandemic. Convenient shopping options, hybrid work, and millennials moving to fast-growing suburbs are driving that trend. And retailers are trying to get a slice of the action.
Macy's is trying to adapt to the changing retail environment, moving out of shopping malls and into suburban strip centers.
Macy's announced in 2023 it was opening 30 new small format stores in off-mall locations.
Right.
Brands like Sephora and Starbucks are also moving in, as are fast food restaurants, making strip malls one of the hottest plays in commercial real estate.
I can definitely tell you the closest Macy's to me is in a strip mall. Along with JCPenney's. I'm trying to think of other locations that were once. Basically just Macy's and JCPenney's. I did not expect to see that because I've only ever encountered them, like specifically when I'm outside of New York at least, right? I've only encountered them in malls.
But strip malls face criticism for being an eyesore to their communities,
Okay.
contributing to environmental problems, and blamed for the demise of traditional business districts.
When we think of strip centers, we kind of think of older, dilapidated strip malls that are lining the buildings in urban areas.
I wrote a book about shopping malls, and I mostly focused on indoor shopping malls because they're honestly much more interesting architecturally. People have deeper feelings of nostalgia for indoor malls because they have more sense of place and presence. I don't think that people have a lot of sentiment about strip malls because they're very utilitarian.
The U.S. has more than 68,000 strip malls from coast to coast, more than regional malls, super regional malls, neighborhood centers, and outlet malls combined. So how did the U.S. become bathed in strip centers? And could the format be the future of brick and mortar retail?
Okay, yeah, so it definitely is the future. That's just the way we're heading. And I will also point out here, we're Americans, okay? We're slightly overweight and don't like, moving around as often. I can give you one example, right? So living half the year in Spain, things are not like this. There's no such thing as this much parking ever, right? So when we do bring, let's say, random family members from Spain to the United States of America to visit, they are absolutely blown away by the parking mainly. So what I'm starting to realize is that I think we just do not like exercising. And so, for example, it could be a strip mall just like this that we would take a random family member to. And example, we would park as close to where we're going as humanly possible. And if we had to go to this side, like where Ross is over here, right, we would legitimately get back into the car, drive all the way back over here and park. Okay. I think we're just lazy. This is why we like strip malls. To be honest, because the shock and awe on some of the family members' faces, for example, is like, why don't we just walk there? Let's just walk there. So as we're getting fatter, let's say, this is becoming more of an issue for us. I'm telling you. Hence the reason why strip malls are also most likely blooming. Right? Just opinion, just a thought. From experiencing, multiple places on this planet, I can definitely tell you we are lazy. Because I would definitely go right here to Marshall's Park, and because whatever this place is, Bob's, and because Bob's is like right next door, I would most likely walk, right? But if it was all the way down here by this random place, no chance I'm walking that, bro. No chance.
A brick and mortar retail?
Bob's Furniture.
A strip mall in general occupies a 10,000 to 50,000 square foot property of connected buildings dominated by a large parking lot with roughly 5 spaces for every 1,000 square feet of retail space. Usually located parallel to a major road or on a corner, they are also visible to thousands of potential shoppers who drive by each day. Most properties are 1 story tall and have fewer than 10 tenants that have traditionally included a mix of niche retailers like nail salons, liquor stores, and laundromats. With consumers seeking more convenient shopping options, visits to strip malls have surged.
These strip centers offer more of an in and out experience. So lines are shorter because of smaller stores. Parking's easier. They're usually, on your way home from dropping your kid off at school or on your way home from work.
Their growing popularity is also due in part to stores offering goods and services you can't get online.
We see these health services, urgent cares, for example, going into these strip centers. UPS, FedEx, with people ordering online, you see a lot of those in these strip centers where people just want a quick in and out return. You're also seeing a lot of specialized fitness studios.
The tenants in a strip mall within a neighborhood tend to be e-commerce proof, relatively recession proof, remote work proof.
And they provide inexpensive retail space for brands. Facing dwindling traffic, Macy's has opened roughly a dozen off-mall stores called Market by Macy's and Bloomies as the retailer pivots to fast-growing suburbs. The new stores are about a fifth of the size of traditional stores and offer a slimmed-down selection.
Yeah, mine is definitely called Market by Macy's, the one that's close to me.
While Macy's shares have underperformed the S&P 500 overall, sales of its off-mall stores have outperformed the rest of the company. Macy's said in February it was closing about 150, or a third, of its legacy stores.
New consumers, younger consumers, are not necessarily as inclined towards kind of the Fortress Mall experience as their parents may have been.
They're local,
I missed that.
Easy to get to. The format is simple to shop.
They're not doing this with the expectation that they're going to make a tremendous amount of new sales here, but it's a convenient place for consumers to pick up, to return, to touch and feel certain items, even if they order them and they're delivered the next day to their house.
The trend has other retailers clamoring for space too. Strip mall vacancy rates plunged to their lowest levels in decades, significantly below other property types, including both regional malls and neighborhood centers, which occupy up to 25 acres. Other brands exiting the mall in favor of outdoor properties include Bath & Body Works and Foot Locker.
I have not encountered a Foot Locker, though. Because, that was literally the store that I had to go to the mall for, right? I've never seen a Foot Locker. Don't get me wrong, they probably exist. They're pointing it out here, right? But I've never experienced a Foot Locker ever outside of the mall.
Strip malls got their start in the 1920s,
bro, this
but it was
is beautiful.
decades later when the format took off.
1950s.
Where is that?
When the strip mall really came into fashion. It's suburbanization of this country. So we have the automobile now available for the masses. We have inexpensive construction.
Inexpensive? You saw how they just built that house, right?
Masses.
Hold on. Like, why is that? How could anything like that be $500,000, bro? I'm sorry. How can it be? Okay. Inexpensive.
Inexpensive construction processes, materials for small single-family homes.
It's disrespectfully expensive for some wood.
The areas along the highways were pretty low-cost real estate initially because they weren't good places to build homes, but people hadn't really figured out what to do with them yet. So to build these very simple, often concrete block structures, one-story structures for strip malls was a cheap way to give space that was highly rentable to stores.
But today, rising costs and higher interest rates have put constraints on new strip mall construction, leading to higher rents for businesses. The average rent at strip centers in 2024 reached $20.95 per square foot, more than 17% higher than in 2019. Rising rates have given strip malls the title the king of retail real estate. Investors are taking notice. Site Centers, which owns and manages open-air shopping centers in high-income suburbs, is spinning off its portfolio of strip mall properties. The new company, called Curbline Properties, went public October 2024. Strip malls are
And their stock price is interesting, guys. Very.
also an attractive investment for commercial property owners because they are cheaper to purchase than large anchor retail shopping centers, and the landlord generally has less upfront costs.
And the bank will literally loan you a good amount of money on these guys. So like generally you're talking about 20% down, right? You can get in for if you structure it correctly, you could probably get in there for a little bit less. This is definitely the move if you want to do big moves, right? And it's consistent. The person renting or the company renting itself is responsible for basically building their whole thing and bringing customers, guys. It's just like it's a good deal. If you're into like commercial real estate, it's a very good deal.
Even if you buy
Very
an
good
existing anchor shopping center, the large national 50,000 square foot store isn't going to move into a space exactly as is. And that cost is often on landlords to outfit the space for the 60,000 square foot Walmart or Target. If
Maybe you're talking about big box locations.
you invest in a strip center, typically you'll have these pre-cut boxes and you'll attract tenants that are essentially going to be ready to move into the space as is.
Most strip mall properties
That's kind of what I was talking about.
can be acquired for less than $5 million. Leases also typically have built-in rent increases, and some have what's called a percentage rent provision, where in addition to the minimum rent a tenant pays, a small percentage of their sales, roughly 3 to 5%, goes to the property owner as additional rent.
So as a tenant, this may be attractive because your landlord has a financial interest in keeping the surrounding area occupied, clean, maintained, attractive.
And not even just like occupied like that. I guess the main benefit of that is making sure that we don't bring in, and like for example, own a strip mall, and then you allow a cell phone company to come in, for example. And the beauty of that is you can then, specifically if you have some type of stake in their success, you won't bring in another cell phone company to the next door to them, basically, guys, or nail salon, et cetera, et cetera.
Active so that more customers are attracted to their tenant stores.
The tenant demand is there. The consumer demand is there.
Radio Shack.
And when you look at a lot of other
Radio
investment
Shack.
opportunities within commercial real estate,
That an old video?
there's a lot of question marks.
While strip malls offer shoppers a convenient option to pick up last-minute items and find services, they aren't a perfect fit for everyone.
It discriminated those that didn't have an automobile. Yes, there might have been a bus route, but for many that have taken buses in the United States have never been that great.
Nope.
On top of that, strip malls face environmental concerns.
They're set in front of a parking lot that also tends not to be landscaped on a road that is also asphalt. So you get a very large heat island effect from strip mall development. A lot of times, since they were built so cheaply, they were built on cheap land, and frequently that land can be in a bottom or a wetland. And so you'll see a lot of puddles in their parking lots after a big rain because there's actually groundwater seeping up from below as well as rainwater from above, and it has nowhere to drain if everything is asphalted.
But new investments could see many strip malls rehabilitated, with some converted into multi-use spaces. One survey found consumers in 3 Pacific Northwest cities said they were willing to pay 8.8% more for goods and services in well-landscaped strip malls versus one without greenery. The survey was mailed to 1,200 households. Strip malls could also be used to solve some of the nation's housing shortages. Converting just 10% of the U.S.'s 947 million square feet of strip mall space could create 700,000 new multifamily homes.
I mean, we could definitely go for that amount of homes being dropped onto the market, but just be fully aware your house value is going to basically plummet, right? But it could solve a lot of issues, right? But there'll be investors jumping on that immediately. You'd have to basically structure it in a way that doesn't allow people to just come in and buy like a quick 100,000 of them. I'm telling you, because they're going to be cheap. They're going to be cheap, and we're going to be in the same situation in 10 years. Because those who can will. They're going to buy them all up and then sell them to people for double their money.
Strip mall that I see as being successful now and even more so into the future is set up more like a small community, a small town in a lot of ways, where you may even have stores at the ground level and an apartment on a second or third level. More green space, more walkways, pedestrian-only areas, places for outdoor dining.
But will strip malls become the future of brick and mortar retail? Some think it has a bright future.
We need what we need when we need it. And strip malls offer that convenience to pop in and out and get those kind of services that you can't order online.
The apocalypse never came for retail. We recognize that it just was a constant evolution, and it's about getting the tenants right. And now there is a new formula for getting that right.
Guys, I mean, yeah, this is the logical ending of malls, bro. It had to be like this. Like, as everyone for some reason, didn't want to walk through all those stores to get to their store. Now you just have to park in front of it, and you're at your store directly. You don't have to worry about all the nonsense, right? Either that, or you buy things online, which is basically what everyone does anyway, right? But I do like the fact that strip malls exist. I want them to continue to exist because I like shopping at strip malls. I would prefer that definitely, to be able to just run into the specific store I'm looking for and not having to walk past all the meaningless ones I don't care about. That at that moment, at least, guys. Right? But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day. Thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd, along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.